Hello, this is the video lecture covering new product development and product lifecycle strategies. Uh, One really satisfying and kind of exciting thing to do in marketing is to develop new products. I've been involved with new product development on a number of occasions, and it's a really enjoyable thing to do, but it does take a little bit of time, and it is a little bit involved. Um, with new product development, probably the first stage is actually idea generation, coming up with an idea for a new product. Where do new ideas come from? Well, they can come from a number of places. Um, one you know, one place, of course, is from consumers themselves, often asking um, consumers what kind of products would help you, what problems do you have, what how could our product be better, um what are your challenges, and trying to basically doing market research and finding out. um and an example of that was Palmolive dishwashing liquid. The Palmolive people kept on pressing consumers, you know, what's still bothering you? What are you still your challenges in the in cleaning dishes? And when pressed, they actually found that one problem that consumers still had um, was tomato sauce in plastic containers, such as a Tupperware container or a Rubbermaid container. The acidic nature of tomato sauce actually creates a sort of orange stain in plastic that is not easy to get out. And so Palmolive, took that idea back to the lab and developed a new dishwashing liquid that would actually get tomato sauce stains out of plastic. And so that was a great idea for a new product that they got from asking consumers, pressing them for this sort of thing. Certainly, you can generate new ideas in brainstorming sessions. You get a group of people together, just trying to come up with ideas, um, and really trying to be creative. A brainstorming session is a great tool, particularly if you encourage everyone to throw out every idea they can. The purpose of a brainstorming session is not to come up with the perfect idea, but rather to come up with a lot of ideas. Um, and one the kiss of death in a brainstorming session is if you have somebody who says very quickly, "Oh, that won't work. Oh, that's silly. That's ridiculous. No, we can't do that." It's sort of a naysayer. Yes, a lot of ideas in a brainstorming session are not going to be particularly good. They're going to be silly or stupid or whatever. That's okay, because in that way, but a silly idea can actually trigger somebody else to think in a different direction. And that is the key to creativity and to brainstorming and coming up with new ideas. And actually, sometimes the silly idea ends up being the actual idea. I remember we were working on a project and I was a little tired and I decided to, I made a couple of jokes, and actually the thing that I meant as a joke became our solution to the problem. Um, so but also, serendipity, the just chance can help. For instance, 3M, the people who make adhesives, things like adhesive tape and other types of products, at one point had they're trying to produce a batch of glue that went wrong. It was only slightly sticky. It wasn't really sticky enough. And they were having a meeting to discuss, and they had some samples in the conference room, and what could they do with this glue? They have a whole lot of it, and they had to figure out how to dispose of it. And a secretary actually asked for some. Could I have some? I want and actually put it on a piece of paper, and um, just put it to tack it on, to sort of like tack it onto a wall. She was trying to sort something out, and just putting a little bit on was on a piece of paper. And she inadvertently, accidentally invented the Post-it note. And they kind of looked at what she was doing. Says, that's actually a great idea. And Post-it notes, of course, are a very useful thing to have. And sometimes you have to be open to ideas from any direction. So anyway, idea generation is, of course, every product, every company, depending upon the product type, will do it a little bit differently. But you want to generate as many ideas as possible. Of course, once you generate the idea, you have to screen, because and screen out the bad ones. They might have helped with the creativity, but they're not going to be. Many of them are not going to be your final, solution. So you screen them out, evaluate them, and figure out the product ideas to move forward with. Of course, then you need to do a business analysis. And what do we mean by a business analysis? Well, you have to look at things like how much will it cost to produce this product? What's the market size? Is it worth developing this product? And other, sort of mathematical and financial and analytical analyses to get to see if this product is really going to be a viable one in a business sense. And any ideas that you've taken forward now should be developed. This might be doing prototypes. It might be doing development of various types to really fine tune the product to make it as good as possible, and maybe refine the manufacturing so it can be made as cheaply as possible, hopefully as well. And once you've got what you feel is the final product, you may want to do some test marketing. And I think I may have mentioned previously that, for instance, McDonald's had come up with this idea for some new breakfast sandwiches, and they test marketed them in Houston, and they did very well. And these were the McGriddle sandwiches, which are still being sold by McDonald's today. So, and then if that is successful, then you go to full-up commercialization, full production, and distribution. So these are sort of the 7 general steps or 6 general steps in producing new products. It will take different amount of time depending upon what product category you're in. For instance, if you're talking about pharmaceuticals, you're talking 12 to 15 years. In other product categories, it might just be a few weeks. Again, it depends upon the parameters and the details of the particular product that you're trying to develop, and how much testing does it require, and so forth. Anyway, so once you've developed your new products, that's great, but every product goes through a product life cycle. Just like people go through a life cycle, so do products. Product development, which is kind of like gestation. Then, of course, an introduction or launch, which is like birth. Then, of course, there's a growth phase, as well as a maturity phase where you get peak sales. And then eventually, nothing lasts forever, and there's going to be a decline. Decline doesn't necessarily mean death or the end of the line, but there will be a decline at some point. And so we've divided the product life cycle into these 5 steps. And you'll see, for instance, here we have our sales. They start on the date of launch, and they slowly grow, and then we get into the growth phase, and then they peak and top out, and then eventually decline. As we look at our profit and loss is going to be a little bit different. First off, it's going to go down. This is where we see the loss part. You're investing in developing your product. And even if, as you can see, once you even get into the introduction phase, you're going to continue to lose money because you're investing in the launch activities, promotion and any other promotional launch activities that you might have. Eventually, of course, these losses decrease, and eventually you break even. You might break even during the growth phase, but you might also, if you're doing well, you might break even in the introduction phase. growth phase, everything's growing, and then of course you will, again, your profits will also top out and then eventually decline. Now, this particular graph is a conceptual graph. The shape of it might be a little bit different depending upon your product and how long your product life cycle is. Some products go through this cycle very quickly. Others will take decades. You look at a product like, let's say, like Coca-Cola. That's a product that's been, around for roughly a century. I would say at this point it is somewhere between maturity and decline. And the only reason for the decline is recently there has been a change in taste, awareness of health issues, where people say maybe drinking soda with all the sugar in it isn't the best thing to do. But it will take a long time to fully decline. So in each phase, of course, there's going to be different strategies and different things that you will do. Obviously, during product development, that is pure development, no actual sales or promotion yet. So let's take a look at these various cycles. Excuse me. During introduction, we're going to have low sales. We're starting from zero, so that's understandable. We're going to have a high cost per customer because we have invested in product development, promotion. Initial promotion is going to be you're going to have to have a lot of it because you have to build awareness and interest and ultimately desire for the product before you make a sale. So there's per customer, it's going to be a fairly high cost, but that will change. You will have, as you saw in the graph, there's going to be negative profits. You have a loss at first. At some point, you will break even. And most of your customers will be innovators. If you remember the product adoption curve, I think it's roughly 2.5% of your potential your target market. They'll adopt the product very quickly, but you can't depend upon the innovators. We need to get more. So our marketing objective is to create and build product awareness and product trial. So we have to introduce the product and make everyone we can aware of it, and try to get them to try it. In terms of strategies, we want to probably start off with a fairly simple offering, a basic product. Not too many different versions of the product, nothing overly complex if we can avoid it. We will probably need to build at first selective distribution. It'd be nice to get everyone to sell your product, but the question is, can you get production up that quickly? But also, distributors are already distributing other products. You have to really kind of convince them, push them to distribute your product because they're taking a chance. So one thing you can do to try to persuade distributors to carry your product is to offer them relatively exclusive agreement, saying you'll be the only one in this area carrying our product. So we will push people to you if you will carry our product and feature it, hopefully, put it in a good position in the store or that sort of thing. We want to build product awareness, as I said previously, but particularly among a group called the early adopters. And the early adopters, they're the group that comes after the innovators in the product adoption curve. These are people who will analyze, evaluate a product quickly, and also become opinion leaders. They are the people who will tell other people about the product. So we want to build awareness among them. And we want to maybe do sales promotions to stimulate trial. Maybe, you see in stores people giving away free samples. That's a form of sales promotion. Maybe you have special introductory offers or coupons or other sort of discounts just to get people to try the product. So hopefully they'll fall in love with it and buy it and tell other people about it. The next phase, of course, is growth, which is lots of fun. Here we see rising sales, which gets us all very excited. Because of increased sales, our cost per customer goes down. We're now taking our expenses and spreading across a much larger customer base. So rising profits, great, love that. Now our customers are those early adopters. And what we want to do now is maximize market share. We are dealing with competitors. We want a bigger slice of the pie. And so that's what we want to achieve. To do that, now we start to offer product extensions, in many cases, line extensions, different variations, different colors, different flavors, different functions, that sort of thing. And of course, we don't want to stick with that exclusive or selective distribution. We want to build a more intensive distribution. We want to find, make it even easier for consumers and customers to find our product. And of course, we need to build awareness in the broader market. So we're going to do more promotions. But we will reduce maybe our sales promotions to take advantage of the heavier demand. Now we're getting growth. We don't need to maybe offer as many discounts, that sort of thing. And we want to take advantage of the increased margins as well. So this is a great time in the life of a product. And if you're working in that, enjoy it. But then, of course, we come to the maturity phase. And this is where we're getting peak sales. This is we're making lots of money, but we're now at the top of the hill. We have lower cost per customer, great. Higher profits, fantastic. We now have the early and late majorities, again, in the product adoption curve. And what our objective is now is to maximize profits, now that we have this high demand, but also to defend market share. If we're doing well with our product, that means we will have attracted attention of competitors. So now we have to we will be in the growth phase. We're moving up the hill. Now we have to look back down the hill and see who is nipping at our heels. And so we have to make sure, we have to deal with those competitors. So things we might want to do is diversify our brand and our models, again, having alternatives for consumers. Build even more intensive distribution. Stress the product differences between ours and our product and our competitors' product, because our competitors will be aggressive at this point because we've just done very well. So they want we make a nice target. And you may want to use sales promotions to encourage people to switch from other brands to ours, because at the maturity phase, we're probably approaching market saturation. It's harder to grow when you're already at a large size. And if you want to grow, you may have to do it at the expense of competitors. I'm reminded of a particular campaign that Burger King did years ago. Burger King and McDonald's all offered, coupons, discount coupons. Burger King did something quite unusual. They actually said, we'll accept our coupons, but we'll also accept McDonald's coupons, for comparable products. So if you, excuse me, came to Burger King with a Big Mac coupon, they would honor the Big Mac coupon, which is kind of strange, but it was actually very successful. So there's that. And of course, McDonald's then kind of turned around and did the same thing because they didn't want to be outdone. So these are little tactics you do. But in this case, it's a part of a broader strategy of trying to, take market share away from competitors. And now we come to the last phase, the decline, if you get a job in product management, it is most likely that you'll be given a product to manage that will be in decline. Better to make your mistakes on a declining product than an upcoming product. Better to deal with a dog, make your mistakes on a dog as rather than a star. Obviously, you're having declining sales. You still have low cost per customer, but you're also having declining profits because of the declining sales. Your products, your customers are now the laggards. They include the laggards. So what you really have to do here is reduce your expenditures and try to milk the brand. Decline is not the end, it's not death, but you're getting closer to it. So you have to try to get the most out of it. If you have weaker offerings, you might want to phase those out. And it doesn't necessarily mean the offerings with the lowest sales. For instance, I remember I was working on a product line and we decided to cut one of the products in the product line. It's not that it wasn't selling, it was just that it was the least profitable because actually it had a high manufacturing cost. So you have to do a little business analysis. What are your revenues, what are your costs, what are your profits, and make a decision on that basis. In many cases, you'll need to cut price because if you have competitors, you may be the low-cost alternative now. You may also want to phase out unprofitable outlets, returning to more selective distribution. You pick the ones that are the most, you keep the ones that are most profitable for you in terms of that product. And you advertise just enough to maintain the loyal customers. So again, you're milking the brand. You're not trying to expend too much into it. And you reduce your sales promotions, your discounting and so forth to an absolute minimum. Now, decline, again, doesn't mean death. And, although it brings you, as I said, it brings you closer to it, but, this is kind of a tricky area. If you're still making money on this product, at what point do you decide to pull the trigger and kill it? One example, I worked for a company that made the product was called Nicarb. It was a product that killed, treated coccidiosis in chickens. It's an odd product, but very, very important for chicken farmers. But it was a declining product. There were alternatives and so forth, and management decided, okay, we're gonna finally kill off Nicarb. And then all of a sudden they discovered there was an entire warehouse of Nicarb. And oh my God, what are we going to do? I guess because they were shutting down promotion and all sorts of things like that. And then one sales rep said, "Don't worry, I can sell it. I can sell this product. It's still a good product." This one guy had faith in it, and he actually sold a warehouse full of product, this Nicarb. And it made management say, well, maybe there's still a little bit of life left in this product. Maybe we can, maybe we were a little premature. So again, these are difficult decisions. And of course, the question is, where do you put your resources? Do you put your resources in a declining product, or do you put it into a rising product? Usually the answer is the rising product, but if you can still keep that other declining product, again, depends upon how profitable it still is, and is there still a market for it? So, not every product goes through the product life cycle at a different rate, and of course, there are some product life cycles that do look a little bit different. So, for instance, we have fashion products, and these are products that, seem to have a similar, the curve has a similar to what we've seen. There's a growth, maturity, and then decline, but then it comes back. Things go in and out of fashion, and for instance, men's vested suits, three-piece suits, very popular at the beginning of the 20th century, then became less popular. Then in the 1970s became popular again, and then went out of fashion, and then around the late 1990s came into fashion again, and then went out of fashion. I don't know if they'll come back in fashion at some point, but it's certainly a possibility. You see products that become popular and then unpopular and then popular again. Most products don't fall into this category, but things like fashion can. And then we have fads, and these are products which go through the product life cycle exceedingly quickly. Often I find that they fall into the gift or toy categories. For instance, there was the Tamagotchi, which was a sort of an electronic pet that you had to do something to it. I never had one, but to keep it alive and to interact with it. And this became very popular. In the 1980s, there was the Cabbage Patch Kids, these sort of ugly dolls that came with birth certificates. You adopted them, and there was the singing fish, that's sort of the fish on the plaque, and then you pass by and it turns and starts singing to you. You probably have seen those. I think the prize goes to the Pet Rock. The Pet Rock, and this came out in the 1970s. It was launched in October, I think 1973, and it became white hot, very popular. And by February, nobody really cared about it anymore. It was kind of an interesting type of thing. I remember my cousin had one of these, and she took her Pet Rock everywhere, and she thought it was the greatest thing. Probably the most expensive thing in this proposition was the instruction manual, the care and feeding of the Pet Rock. I particularly love that they put holes in the box so the rock can breathe. It's a completely silly thing, but it was extraordinarily popular, and then it wasn't. So that's sort of the archetypical fad, just white hot popularity followed by who cares. So of course there have been many other fads, the fidget spinner and things like that. It's more recent, and there'll be fads in the future. The trouble is that it's very difficult to build a business model on fads. You'd have to keep on coming up with fad after fad, and it's very difficult to know what's going to be popular. I mean, nobody needs a Pet Rock or a fidget spinner or any of these other things. It's, as I said, it's mostly in the toy and gift category that we see these things, but there are other fads as well. But it's hard to predict, and you may hit, capture lightning in a bottle for one fad product, but it's hard to do it over and over again. So. Okay, well, if you have any questions, you can email me or ask me questions during class. So until that time, take care.